Welcome to Harper Fox Trailblazer Talks. Today we are discussing the challenges faced by women in male-dominated sectors, and I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Griselda Togobo, Diversity and Inclusion Leader and CEO of Forward Ladies. Welcome, Griselda.
Thank you so much, Scarlett. I've been so looking forward to being here.
Oh, same. Do you know what? I'm so happy we made this happen, and it is amazing to meet you in person.
And you as well. You're amazing.
Oh, so are you. Anyway, we'll get to the interview. So I think a really nice place to start would be for you to walk us through your journey and how you got to become the CEO of Forward Ladies, and also I know you have some incredible accolades as well.
Okay, so you may be wondering about my accent. It's a Ghanaian accent. I was born in Ghana, West Africa, so my temperament tends to be quite tropical and sunny.
Nice.
And I always wanted to be an engineer. My mom had an engineering company, and so I did engineering, electrical and electronic engineering. And then I came to the UK, to Cambridge, to do a master's in engineering and manufacturing. And when I finished, joined the professional services firm Deloitte and Touche. And because you were given the opportunity to train as a chartered accountant, I did that as well.
I didn't know I knew none of this about you.
So
Wow.
yes, so
Okay.
I am a chartered accountant of England and Wales, and I'm an
Wow.
engineer as well. And it all comes in handy because it's analytical skills.
It is.
And I was using all those skills with Deloitte as an advisor. I was doing advisory work, which I totally enjoyed, traveling up and down the country.
Okay.
It was good grounding for a graduate coming out of uni. Once I finished that, I met this handsome doctor and we got married, and I got a transfer with the firm up north to Leeds.
Aw.
And we had our first child, and I had a conversation with the partner of the firm at the time that I wanted to work more flexibly, because my husband and I, we were leaving notes on the fridge to get milk and to get dinner, and I thought that is not an environment that you want to bring up a child in.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to work one day from home.
Yes.
And guess what this partner said? He
I can
said,
already guess.
Yeah, he said no. And now since COVID, we are all working from home all
Isn't
the
it
time.
interesting?
It's possible to work
Yeah.
from home all the time.
is.
So that really started my entrepreneurial journey. So I left the firm 10 years ago and set up my own consultancy, initially working with small businesses. And then an opportunity came up to buy Forward Ladies, which was a women's network up north.
Yeah.
And I really just saw an opportunity to do a lot with the brand at the time. One of my motivations for doing the work that I do around women and equality is because of my mom. So my mom was the only child. She was one of 3 children, and she was the first child and denied education because of her gender.
Oh,
And I saw
wow.
her really defy all these odds and become this amazing entrepreneur. And obviously she had us her 7 children and looked after us, sometimes on her own. So I thought I could really, I had a passion for supporting other women because I knew what women can do when given the chance.
Yes, definitely.
And so that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years through Forward Ladies. And now I work with FTSE 100 clients, mostly in the aerospace, engineering, utilities sector, because that is my background.
Yeah.
And we help them really bridge the gap between where their women are and where they should be, because a lot of businesses know, they understand the importance of diversity and inclusion,
Yes.
but when it comes to the actual day-to-day actions that lead to equality, they really struggle with that.
Yes, I
So
totally agree.
I have the luck and the pleasure to do that on a day-to-day basis.
That's an absolutely incredible story. There's so many different elements that I want to touch upon. So, okay, so first of all, you went and you asked for this one day of flexibility at
Yeah.
home to the senior partner. I assume the senior partner said no to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that kind of drove you on this entrepreneurial journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I asked the partner, so there was that answer.
Yeah.
And the other thing I also looked at the time was that there were, the department I was in, there was one woman, there was one black man, there was
Yes.
myself, and there was an Indian guy. And we thought if there was going to be a promotion, it's going to be one token minority person. And it wasn't going to be me because I was the youngest and least experienced on the team. And I thought, do I really want to hang around until the firm really figures out that I had something to offer, because I joined as a post-grad with a lot of experience under my belt, and I just felt that I wasn't going to reach my full potential at the firm.
So that was more of a culture.
Yes.
From your perspective, culturally, you felt like maybe it would be difficult for you to advance.
Yes, so I felt there was a sense of tokenism at the time. Obviously, this is 10 years ago, so the firm may have moved on a lot since then. And I felt the tokenism meant that people weren't seen for what they could contribute, but rather they were being seen as part of a group. And once that box had been ticked on that group, then we didn't need to do more. So if we needed a woman, we just needed one woman, and if we needed an Asian, we just needed one Asian, and that ticked the box. So I think it's their loss.
Well, clearly it has been their loss.
I like to think it's their loss.
So actually, though, on a positive note, that journey and that experience has then spearheaded you into this journey of entrepreneurialism, kind of development of females in particular, and this huge platform that is Forward Ladies as well. So tell us a little bit more maybe around some of your achievements since being on that journey.
So one of my achievements is, and I'm really proud of this, is having been in business for 10 years.
Yes.
And going through COVID as well, and surviving all that COVID has thrown at us.
Definitely.
Because I think sometimes when we talk about achievements, we're looking for these big, massive goals. But sometimes I think looking at what we've just come through now, every day surviving and showing up and being positive and making your contribution is a valuable achievement. So yes, just being here now and being able to have this conversation with you, I feel I'm winning. Yeah,
you are winning. And I have to say, because we met, because I, thankfully, you asked me to go on to your webinar/podcast for Forward Ladies, which I actually thoroughly enjoyed. And I was saying what a great interviewer you were. And I kind of came off that actually and just felt really motivated and really inspired. And then you phoned me and we've kind of collaborated on some things since.
Yes.
So, and that's been, an incredible experience. So
for me, it's just been one of the things that I try to do when I meet people, when I see people on TV, or even when I read books and I feel, oh my God, this person is amazing. I would love to connect with this person. I reach out. So in your case, I saw you on The Apprentice and as I said, I think I've said it so many times, I thought you should have won. But luckily, Sir Alan Sugar came to his senses and invested in you. So he's done really good. The person who won is fantastic. But, I love Scarlett. And that happens sometimes. I thought you were amazing. I felt you were so authentic, and your story around being a single mom and your children, your whole journey, I thought it was so inspirational. And when you came on the podcast as well, you were so down to earth. And the feedback we got afterwards was that you're a very, very genuine person.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
And trust is very low now. We don't trust people, we don't trust companies, we don't trust the vaccine. There's so much we don't trust.
I won't comment on any of that, but no, you're right, you're absolutely right. And kind of integrity, we're hearing about integrity all the time and trust all the time, aren't we? So, I digressed a little bit. So you've obviously had some phenomenal achievements, and you touched on how important those small steps are as well to achieving the bigger things, which I love, by the way. But what would you say are maybe some of the sacrifices that you've made along the way, if you have?
Yes, I've made a lot of sacrifices, and sometimes they may feel like sacrifices in the moment, but later on when you look back at it, it might feel like it was the right decision. It was what was needed in that moment in time. So before COVID, I was very lucky. I was winning clients internationally, and I was traveling, which meant that one of my goals when I decided to have my business, was to be able to be more present with my children, take them to school and pick them up. And as the travel increased, which was fantastic for business, I realized I wasn't really able to meet that goal. And so something had to change. I had the office and I had a setup and I had a staff, but I wasn't there and my children weren't seeing me. So I made a very, very difficult decision, which at the time felt like a sacrifice, to give up the office, to give up the space, to just change the way we operated so that I could be more fully present with my family and to be the kind of mom I can look back on and be proud of. So that decision wasn't taken lightly
It's a big
because,
decision.
as you can imagine,
It's a major decision.
yes, people don't like change. It didn't feel like it was the right thing, but I went ahead and did it. And just after I moved everything in December 2019 into my garage, COVID hit.
So it was perfect timing.
So it seemed like, wow, the decision that was so hard. You know, sometimes you just have to follow your gut. So it seemed like I was making a big sacrifice and losing people and goodwill.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but in the end, in hindsight, it was the right decision at the time. So some of the sacrifices feel like sacrifices in the moment, but as we go on in life, it just seems like, yeah, you should have done that.
This is what it is. Yeah. And I mean, little did you know at that time you'd have the children at home with you for a whole year and be having to work and then running past. I don't know if your experience is the same as mine. I'm like, as I'm like speaking on a meeting, leave.
Yes, yes. But I feel the world needed to see that. The world needed to come into our homes and see our children as real and parents as real people with little people that they care for and other people, carers that they care for. I feel that it's done business a lot of good.
I agree.
And I hope that going forward, we're able to keep that element and we don't go back to pretending that parents don't have children.
Yes.
And children don't have needs.
Well, I think
families.
even, I totally agree with you. And I think, yes, from a parental perspective, but actually just seeing people more human.
Yes.
Like the postman's knocking at the door and you're like, okay, it's fine, like I'll just wait a moment, or the dog's coming past or whatever that might be.
Yes.
And you're, you know, used to speaking to someone in a very corporate way and all of a sudden you have an insight to their home life and vice versa. And I think it has really built trust actually in relationships even more so. So no, I totally agree with you.
I hope we keep it because, yes, business needs that. It's about people. It's about human capital. It's relationships. And I really believe that sometimes we focus so much on the profit. Obviously, I'm an accountant, so it's always about the bottom line. And we lose the people.
We do.
Whereas now, having been in business for a while, I'm gradually, it's come to the realization that if you get the people side right, if they're motivated, if they're well paid, if they're well taken care of, if they feel they're being seen, then all the other things tend to fall into place.
I agree. I totally agree. I heard this brilliant quote from T.D. Jakes a couple of days ago, and he was saying that, he was talking about business, and he was saying that actually when it comes down to it, all you've got is the relationships.
Yes.
All we're left with is the relationships that we've actually built in our life, whether that's business, family, friends, lover, whatever that might be, husband, wife. It comes down to relationships, and that is where the value is. And that kind of really struck a chord with me, and I thought, gosh, I need to think about that a little bit more. So
that is
totally
so
right.
true. Yeah. So our community for ladies is based on relationships.
Oh gosh,
and moving from Ghana to the UK and then from the south to the north, the only way that I've been able to survive is been my ability to really connect with people and build meaningful relationships. And trying really hard, investing the time and effort to nurture them. And over the course of the pandemic, it's been those relationships that we've invested time and effort in. They're the ones that have survived.
Yeah, they are.
You know?
That's very, very true.
And when you have nothing else to do, all you can do is pick up a phone and call someone or email someone else. Yeah.
I want to put you on the spot a little bit here, actually, because I think that's a really nice insight. So tell us maybe a couple of tips that you think would be really helpful in terms of kind of investing into relationships or nurturing those relationships, whether it's a business capacity or networking, maybe even.
I think you need to see people and see them as they are, because to build rapport, you need to be able to really bring your full self into conversations and hear what people are saying.
Yes.
Because I think when you don't do that, when you're not mindful of that first engagement, we tend not to see the people in front of us, but we see the people that we think they may be or the other people we've seen before them, and we put that reflection on the person. So my first thing is to try and just understand the person you're with. So whether it's an Englishman or an Asian woman or a child, I try and do that. And so then I understand the culture, I understand what their concerns are, what their motivations are, what the wrong things are to say, and also what the right things are to say. And also, I always try to make a learning experience. So I don't go into a relationship thinking I know everything. I try and learn from the person that I'm with. And then from that point on, it's just the investment in the relationship, isn't it? You can't fake it. You have to email this person, you have to speak to this person. You have to know about the person their family, whether they've been ill. Sometimes people have been ill
Yeah.
and they don't tell you unless, you ask.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I do, and this is quite old school, but I like to send notes.
Oh, nice.
So if somebody's been really lovely, because everyone is sending emails, it's quite easy
Hold
to
up,
send an
where
email.
is my notes? Where was my notes?
Notes and presents.
Oh yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Notes and presents. So I said really, thank you so much for doing
that's really
this.
nice.
A little notes, and it's time intensive, and I'm quite self-conscious sometimes when I do it, because sometimes when people get the notes, they don't always reply or acknowledge it. But I always get something out of it, because I really believe in the principle of reciprocity.
Yes.
When you do something good, people feel they have to do something good back to you. So I just invest in that, and over time, it really pays.
Oh, incredible, like pearls
I'm
of
not
wisdom.
perfect, I'm still learning.
Oh, we all are, we're all learning. So from your perspective, why do you think there is less senior females in male-dominated sectors?
Yeah, so this is like the $1 million question.
This is the question.
Yes.
So we're all trying to work out and change.
I think yesterday somebody asked me, do you think women actually want to lead?
Interesting. It's a good question.
It's a good question. So I don't focus on that. I think there's enough being done to motivate young women and girls to get into specific sectors.
Agreed.
What I am really passionate about is that for the women who have self-selected and said, I have aspirations to lead and to progress,
Yes.
what support are we offering these women?
Yes.
Because they tend to be the ones who get knocked down so much that they get so disillusioned and disheartened that they leave.
Yes.
So if I take my own experience in corporate,
Yes.
I have ambitions to lead.
Yeah.
I did not discount myself in any way when I joined the firm. I wanted a top job, I'll be honest.
I wanted to be the CEO.
Yeah,
And I was
exactly.
like, oh, but I can't do one day from home, or I can't leave an hour early. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that then.
Yeah, so then we have to look at the whole gamut of support, changes, structural, systemic changes we need to put in place. Not just to support women, but to support men as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Because men are part of the solution. They're part of the culture, so they are part of the solution. So I find that women don't get the same access to developmental opportunities as their male counterparts do. When you ask the question, it's because there's this answer that we don't need to fix the women. When a man goes on a training program, he's not being fixed. But when a woman goes on a training program, she's being fixed. How does that work out?
Do you think that's a perception?
It's a perception. It's a
Interesting.
perception, because when you ask any L&D director, any learning and development director, to quantify what percentage of the learning budget has been spent on different groups within the business, they can't tell you. But if you said, how of the people you put forward for leadership development within the last 12 months, 3 years, how many of them were women? It's just a handful. And it's not because women don't want to do the job. It's because they are not being given the opportunity to do that. And then when the pressure is on, they pick a token woman who they have not planned to be in that role. And she might go in and struggle. Not because she's not capable, but because she's not had the support.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point.
Yeah, and also then there's the issues around HR policies, around toxic male culture, around the starting and end times of work, 9 to 5, when schools close at 3. That doesn't work. That was set up when women were supposed to be at home doing the school pickup at 3. So men and women should be contributing and being seen as working equally, to the same rate, both are working at home, and society unfortunately hasn't caught up to that, and our leaders unfortunately sometimes don't feel motivated enough to change the status quo.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's like a virtual
high
high five moment. Absolute. There's so much that you said that resonated with me. I'm going to challenge it a little bit though. Yeah. Do you think there's a place or a piece for women to speak up more, or actually we touched on this before, hold more accountability for pushing themselves further to increase their salary, to get on those development programs that you've talked about, to put a plan in place to be the CEO of a business? Are we as women doing enough?
Yes, we could always do more. we could do more, but you also have to take into account the fact that when you see the people in front of you being and facing so many challenges, you're not motivated to put yourself in that same place. So yes, we could do more. And I think the number one thing that women on our program say they want to be more of is to be more confident and to be more courageous. So we could all have more confidence and more courage, but the systems also need to change, because there's also, there's a concept of stereotype threat. The more people think you won't do well, the more over time you start to believe that about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, what I was just thinking when you said that was, you were like, oh, you'll see the people in front of you and they're struggling, or actually worse still, you don't see anybody in front of you that looks like you. Yes. And you're like, actually, that means it's not possible for me then, and I've been told this, or society conditions, these stereotypes. So.
And unless we see more diverse leaders, women, men, Black men, Asian men, gay men, lesbian women, disabled people, veterans, ex-offenders, unless we see people who are not within the current demographic of leadership leading and doing it authentically, a lot of people will not be putting themselves forward, because that is not for us, And so we have a long way to go.
We do. I think we're making some good momentum though. More momentum than I've ever seen in my working kind of life over the last few years, I would say. And I think actually on a positive note, I think social media, and look, there's pros and cons to social media, but actually it has enabled those who we maybe wouldn't always hear from to have a voice, which is very interesting.
Yes, I think George Floyd as a case in point. I think some people are tired of hearing George Floyd, but actually for a lot of minoritized people, it gave them a voice, as you've said.
And it set a conversation that probably would never have been had before by some of their counterparts, or peers. And all of a sudden it was a conversation of awareness.
And we need to keep talking. It's very uncomfortable talking about race or any kind of inequality. It's not, we humans don't naturally want to go into that difficult conversation space, but unfortunately for that shift of mindset and change and culture to happen, that acceptance that yes, we have a problem, and the conversations to shift the dial on those on the problems that we have need to happen.
And I think for all communities actually. So the communities that it's affecting more as well, or might be deemed to, I think for all communities to really kind of have that shift. So, and talking of positive change, how do you think that businesses can maximise the potential of females?
So I think one of the key areas that businesses can help really unlock the potential of female talent is really by investing in them and giving them the opportunities to progress within the organization. Because without that progression, without the challenging work, people tend to lose hope and to ultimately choose to opt out of the system. So the research that we're going to do together,
which I'm so excited about, by the way.
So when we did that 2 years ago, the number one thing that women said they were looking for is progression in their work. So women are not different from men in that respect. We all want to do well and to be seen as doing well and to be rewarded for the work that we are doing. And it's up to companies to make sure that that is happening across all demographics of their business. I think once we do that, it won't be just women who feel valued and recognized and rewarded. It will be all groups who might not, be represented at a table as we speak.
That's brilliant. And I suppose on that note, what advice would you give to females or even underrepresented groups to overcome some of those challenges that they may or may not face?
So I like to look at all the data, but after I've looked at the data, I like to push it aside and totally ignore it.
Was that the accountant in you? Yes. But then the entrepreneur kind of comes in.
So you look at the data and then you push it aside, because if you're a woman or a minoritized person in the UK, and you just focus on the data, it gives you reason not to push yourself forward, because why should you? It's not going to work. The data says it's not going to work. So push that aside and bring your most courageous, most confident self into every discussion or opportunity that you're given the opportunity to do. And don't accept no for an answer. Just be persistent and be consistent in going after your goals, and surround yourself with the right people. Have a diverse network yourself.
Yes.
Because I find that sometimes we tend to move in the same groups. We don't want to diversify our networks. Is that because of safety? It feels safe where we are. But you need a really diverse network. You need to have people in your network who are CEOs of companies, who are board members, executive, non-executives, from charities, from all over, because then you can get the breadth and depth of experience and advice that can help you push through some of those barriers in the thinking when the going gets tough. So I don't like to give responsibility of my problems to anybody else. So I will take full responsibility of my problems. And once I've taken full responsibility of it, it means that I have the power and the control to be able to change that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do everything possible to change it. And I'm going to seek every help possible to move me from one place to the other. And if you want to join me on the journey and help me and be part of that story, then fantastic. But if you don't want to help me, please move out of my way. Yes. Let me carry on.
Yeah, we need to pass you a mic. That was phenomenal. I don't know how anyone couldn't be inspired, and you can actually just kind of see the passion exuding from you as well whilst you're walking through, and I love that. You're like, be persistent and be consistent. Yes. I'm going to tell myself that tomorrow when I'm meant to be at the gym. Be persistent, Scarlett, and be consistent. But no, it's so true. It's like you've got to advocate for yourself.
You have to, because it is difficult. Life is not a joke.
No.
Life is challenging for everyone. So why should someone drop their own problems and come and help you solve yours? So you have to be your own champion, your own advocate, your own cheerleader. And you have to have your eye on the vision. So that's why we have the goal planner. Every day, mission focus. What am I doing? What am I trying to achieve? And there is always an answer. There is always an answer. Like, I totally believe that. So yes, I'm not going to be stopped by anyone or any prejudice or any stereotype. And the numbers aside, I'm going to be the exception.
Be courageous. That's what I'm going to take from it. Be courageous.
Yes, we have to be.
Fantastic. And again, I guess kind of bordering onto that a little bit, if there was one thing in the world of business that you could change, what would that be? It's a big question.
I think there's a lot of fear from all groups to talk, to have honest, authentic conversations.
Yeah.
There's so much fear that we're not having the conversations we need to have to be able to shift the dial. Because people are afraid of judgment, people are afraid of being called all kinds of isms, whether it's sexism or racism, there's so much fear. And I feel if we could just take the fear out, if we could just be a bit more vulnerable, which is the bravest thing you can do sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then we can all move away from this point of finger pointing to, right, this is me and this is you. I don't agree with you, but I understand where you're coming from. And there's no right or wrong. That one of the biggest shifts I have learned is that the reality is just your perception from where you're sat. Yeah. Yes. So a 6 to me may be a 9 to you. So I cannot go around really discounting people's version of reality because I don't know what they're seeing from where they're sat.
That's very, very, very true.
So I try and bring that mindfulness to every conversation I have. Just remind myself that, Griselda, your opinion on view is not objective. So just be open and allow the person to also explain their point of view and their experience. Yeah. And that helps.
No, I think that's fantastic. And I actually think that point about vulnerability is massive. Because I've noticed, and when I've been doing speaking events, or even when you and I were speaking, that actually by being really quite authentic and stripping back and being quite vulnerable in that moment, and I try to be when it's appropriate to do so, I find on the back of that then straight away people start stripping off their not stripping off, but as in like stripping back their layers and start being a lot more vulnerable or sharing their story or how this impacted them, and actually straight away you're kind of cutting through and getting to the core of things and having much deeper conversations and much more impactful conversations on the back of it. So yes, I celebrate that.
Fantastic.
So what's the biggest lesson that you've learned, and what would your advice be to future generations?
Okay. So Another one of the observations I've made is that sometimes when we look at other people living life or pursuing their goals, we feel they're doing it better than us. We feel they have all the answers, and they have figured it out. But the biggest lesson I've learned is that everybody's winging it. Everybody's winging it. Even the president, even the CEOs, they make the best decision based on the information they have at that point in time. COVID as an example, and they just make sure you made the best decision and move on. Just do your very best. So that kind of gave me solace to just take heart in the fact that you're not doing anything wrong. You're just doing the best with the information that you have. And I think there was one incident as well when I went to a networking event, and there was this big speaker who was supposed to come and speak. And I was at the bar when she walked to me, and there was a group of men, people at the bar as well. And she came to me, and I had to leave. And she said, "Oh my God, I have to go and talk to these people. I really hate networking." I thought, you?
Yeah.
You hate networking. Like, you're the big motivational personality who's supposed to be able to walk into a room and
together. And
she hated networking. She hated doing all that. But when she turned up on stage and to the group, she looked confident. She handled it, and I was like, wow. So sometimes it's all self-talk.
Yeah.
We just need to have some compassion and know that everybody's doing the very best they can, and not be so hard on ourselves, and also just do the very best we can in that moment.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And actually that kind of reminds me of, like, when you're scrolling social media and we're looking at everybody's sort of highlight reel. I know that's kind of the word, but it is the truth, and it's not the reality of people's lives. It just can't, because we're all living this life and we're all trying to navigate through it, aren't we? And we're all trying to overcome these obstacles. So it's just keeping that in mind, really.
Yeah, and rather than focusing on what you had intended to do before you went on social media, now you're beating yourself up because somebody is doing better than you.
Yeah.
And what's the point of that?
Yeah.
They don't have perfect homes, even though it looks like everybody has a perfect home and a perfect child and a perfect business. They don't.
Yeah.
So let's just be kind to ourselves, and let's stay on track and do the best we can. And when you find that you're caught in all that toxicity and you are triggered,
that is what it is.
I tend to mindfulness.
Yeah.
Why am I feeling this way? What is it about this person, this situation that is making me feel this way?
But that's about being able to be really honest with yourself.
Yes.
And isn't that hard, even with yourself, sometimes, to have those conversations?
It's the hardest thing. But then if I don't do that, I go into another meeting carrying this weight of somebody else's supposed success that I think I'm not measuring up to, into another meeting, and then that impacts that conversation that I have.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning.
We all are.
Yeah, to pause and to say, why am I feeling this way? This is not right. This is not positive, and not to deal with it. Just to learn to pack that aside and to move on.
Brilliant. Thank you, Griselda. That has been amazing. And definitely very thought-provoking. I need to go and have a think, and I just said I need to make some notes in the planner that you brought for me today. But now we're going to go into the lightning round,
okay.
Which is a 60-second round. I'll ask you a number of questions and just answer them as quickly as you can.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
So, what do you like to do for fun?
Spend time with family.
Nice. What does equality mean to you?
It means everybody having equal rights, equal opportunities, fair treatment.
Brilliant. What would you say to your younger self?
Don't worry.
Oh,
just
I love
keep
that.
going.
I love that. Who inspires you?
My mom.
And why? You did touch on
Because
this.
she's just amazing. She has dementia now, and she should not be around, but she's fighting through it. She's just had the most incredible life, a tough life.
Yeah, I have to be honest. When you touched on the schooling,
Yes.
that is. I need to understand more about that. What makes an exceptional leader?
Empathy. I think it's important to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes so you can appreciate where they're coming from.
Love that. Very, very nice. What does sustainability mean to you?
It's being able to leave something for the next generation.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful. and tell us a motivational phrase or word that inspires others.
So I just heard this week from Sonny Hanley, who is one of the heads at ITV. So it just stuck in my mind because he said, never change the goal, change the plan. So if you're facing any challenges, don't change the end goal. You can still achieve it, but just look at the plan you're using and see how you can change that. And that really resonates with me.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Very, very good
sometimes
indeed.
we tend to change the goal, isn't it?
Definitely.
Oh, I can't do that, so I'll just bring it down.
Yeah. So it's more about problem solving, navigating our way to it.
Yes.
Griselda, you have been exceptional. Absolutely exceptional, an absolute delight.
It's been a pleasure.
No, it has, and so much thought-provoking kind of things and value that you've brought as well. So yeah, we are very grateful to have you on the show.
Absolutely. It is a show.
Very grateful to have you on the show.
Oprah Winfrey, watch out.
I think you're the one.
I just do my best.
You've been brilliant. Thank you, Griselda.